Today, we're going to walk through with you the RPA, the Residential Purchase Agreement. This is the agreement that you sign with a buyer to make sure you get all your T's crossed and I's dotted. That's right. And on this video specifically, we're going to talk about how you present this contract. And this is a California contract, and it may differ if you're in a different state, but this is how our California contract works for us at Whissel Realty Group here in San Diego. I'm joined by Mike Proctor, and we're going to talk with Mike today on how exactly you present this to a high D profile, a high D on the disc profile. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about what the D profile is as a refresher, or if you don't know what it is, a little intro to it. And then Mike and I are going to role play, and he's going to go line by line and present the RPA to me. Mike, welcome along.
Thanks. Appreciate being here.
So, Mike, we've done this several times before. You've talked about disc profiles. You've done the RLA, the RPA, and these have been some of our most popular videos on YouTube. Yeah. And I think it's because of how great you are as explaining it, not only to us, but as you go through your clients. And that's why you're one of the top agents on our team and have been for many years.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been, 2017, 18 is when we last did one of these. So,
yeah.
The agreements have updated, and I think it's due for a little revamp.
Cool. So let's dive right into the disc profile.
Yeah.
Talk for 1-2 seconds about what the disc profile is as a whole before we get into the D.
Totally. So the disc profile, for those that are unfamiliar, it's an acronym, DISC. And each quadrant of the disc profile is represented by a letter, which represents different, not just personality behavior or personality traits, but behavioral traits and behavioral tendencies that different people possess. We all possess all four, but we all lean into one major quadrant. So if you can learn and identify those behavioral traits and tendencies, it is going to help you with communicating with that individual much more to their liking. You're going to be able to build rapport, build trust much faster because you're speaking on their wavelength.
Perfect. And so let's get right into the first one. And we're going to talk about, this video is all about the D quadrant.
Which stands for dominance.
Perfect. So tell me a little bit about what that means.
So when I describe the disc profile to somebody that's unfamiliar with it, I use an analogy, right? So imagine 4 people walking up to an elevator. Okay, the elevator's closed, and the first person walks up and they click the button. The second person walks up, they see the button's been clicked, so they stand there. The third person does the same. The fourth person, holding a cup of coffee, a stack of papers, they run up to the door. They see that it's been pushed, but they look around and they're like, oh, click, 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 click. That's the D.
Okay.
The dominance is the one that they're results focused. It's all about the end result to them, right? Now, using that analogy, when the door opens, they're the first one in to hit the floor that they want to go on, right? So when you're talking to somebody that's in the high D quadrant, right, the high D, the high dominance, they are going to be the no nonsense, no fluff. This is the type of an individual that wants to get to the bottom line, the end result, as fast as possible. So it's incredibly important that you keep that in mind when you're reviewing something as chunky as the residential purchase agreement. It's 16 pages long. Like, oh.
Yeah, and that's a murder sentence for
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I mean, like, this is the person that you go to a work meeting, and after the boss says something at the beginning of the work meeting, they're like, yeah, but what's the point? Get to the end. They don't want to hear the middle.
Yeah. So when I'm thinking about this in real estate, the high D is, they're not this. I don't want to hear the story. Give me the tactical. Give me the bullet points. If you give them the 17, 16 page document, they're going to look at a page and a half and then sign and whatever and be done, or overwhelmed, right?
Exactly. Right.
All right, Mike. Now, when we're talking about this disc profile in the D, the dominance quadrant, give me some things about what they like, dislike, or maybe most importantly, what are they afraid of? And as we're doing contracts, we want to make sure we alleviate their fears. What are some things that we need to be aware of for the D profile?
So what a D likes and dislikes, they like to be in control. They like to focus on the high level view to get to the outcome that they want, right? They like bullet points. They don't like minutia. They don't like details in that messy middle. They don't want anything to do with it.
They're the big thinkers, and they say, hey, do this, and then they have people that do it.
Right. They want to be the person that tells you what they want, and then they follow up at the end to make sure they got it.
Yep.
The stuff in the middle, that's your job.
Got it.
That's not their job.
Got it.
Right? And what they're afraid of, what they are afraid of most is losing. What they do not want to have happen is they meet at the beginning, they give you the direction, then they come to the end and they didn't get what they wanted. That's losing.
Okay.
Right? And that is what they are most afraid of. So you'll see a lot of high Ds are incredibly competitive. And
Makes
they're
sense.
not always the best losers.
So it's important when you're crafting this that not only are you doing exactly what you hear them say, but your goal is to make them win. So if they say, I want to put in an offer at, I want to lowball this at 500,000 when it's listed at 800 and you know it's worth 750.
What you want to do is you want to frame it in such a way that you set proper goalposts, right? You don't want them to think, if I submit an offer, my only way of winning is getting it accepted. Right?
Okay.
So it's framing it in such a way that you help them understand what winning looks like. Because they want to win, they're afraid of losing. You just need to help them understand it's not black and white. It's not submit an offer, get an acceptance, that's a win. Submit an offer, get a counter, that's winning.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're in a conversation, we're in negotiation. This is winning. So if you can set those proper parameters, you're going to get that D to acquiesce much better.
Gotcha. That's very cool. Yeah, I think that's going to help a lot with setting those expectations. And awesome. All right, Mike, now we know a little bit about what the D quadrant is, what they like, what they're afraid of.
Yep.
Now, give me some examples of someone who's hearing this and go, okay, I think I get it. I want to put some tangibility to it. Give me some examples, some public figures that...
Like put a face to the name kind
exactly.
of a thing.
Who's a high D that people know?
First one that comes to mind that's probably the most prevalent would be Donald Trump. And a behavioral characteristic that he portrays that really aligns him with that D quadrant is how he puts goals over people.
Okay.
Which is, I would say, one of the most controversial aspects of him.
Yep.
But that is a behavioral trait of a high D personality.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Somebody else that a little bit more dated, if you go back in tennis history, you look up John McEnroe.
Okay.
This is like the tennis bad boy. Because when things wouldn't go his way, when his goal wasn't getting accomplished, he would lose his mind. And he would break rackets, throw stuff at the referee. I think that's what the person's called, the referee. I don't play tennis. Like as a high D, when things would not go his way, when his goal wasn't getting accomplished, he would have meltdowns.
Okay.
And then in a completely different realm, journalism, you had Barbara Walters. And she hung her hat on always being the first person to get an interview. And she was tenacious about it. There was nothing that would stop her from doing it. And that high D, results-focused, goal-oriented personality really shined through. So I would say those are three pretty good public figures that would align with a high D personality.
And you would consider yourself a very high D?
Without question.
Kyle Whissel's a high D.
Yes.
I am not a high D. High Ds, on the extreme example, can be very animated, very, like you said, results-driven. Anyways.
Yeah,
So,
and one thing I would add is a lot of times, as I'm pointing these things out, high Ds are usually very successful people because of their results-focused, driven mentality. They do seem to rise into leadership roles. They are high, powerful individuals in their individual companies. So as you're walking in to do a purchase agreement with a client, if you're talking to a C-level executive, I'm going to venture to say they're going to have some D qualities,
Yep.
right? Now, everybody gets sprinkled with their own fairy dust, right? But I would say, just broad stroking it, a higher level individual in a company is usually going to lean more towards a D profile.
Steve Jobs is another one that just came to mind.
Without question.
Cool. All right, so let's go into this. We're going to role play this. You're meeting with me. I am a high D personality, which I'm not naturally.
Yes.
And so, again, I'm going to let you lead this, but let's role play this as if you were presenting it to a high D personality.
Okay. So, Brian, I've got the RPA here. This is a purchase agreement. So we've already toured the home. We've now come to the conclusion, yes, we are putting an offer in. I've drafted it. Now we're sitting down to review it before we submit it.
Perfect.
Just kind of painting the picture.
I love that.
So awesome. Brian, super excited. I'm going to be able to get this put in for you. I know what we're looking for, and my job is to get it for us. What I want to do right now is just review what I've put down, confirm that it's exactly what you want it to look like, and then I'm going to submit it to the seller to get their approval. You with me?
Got it.
Perfect. First couple pages are statutory disclosures. These have nothing to do with our purchase individually, but it's important that you understand them. You with me?
Yep.
Okay. First one here is going to be our agency disclosure. There's an awful lot of verbiage here. And the funny part is, because this is California and at some point in some time, someone got sued, you are going to see an awful lot of redundancy. Okay. If at any point you want to go deeper into something, let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to give you an overview of each page.
Perfect.
You with me?
Yep.
Love it. So this one here is just going to simply go over what a seller's agent, buyer's agent, dual representation, and then responsibilities of the seller and the buyer. Fair?
Cool.
Autograph, date there. Second page here is just going to be the civil code. If you're ever having a hard time going to sleep, read through this. You're out like a light.
Easy.
Fair housing and discrimination advisory. This is don't be racist.
Okay.
So you can see in this box here, these are the protected classes. You cannot make a decision on who gets to buy or sell a house in California based on these classes. If at any time you feel like a seller is making a decision based on any of these classes, you let me know. I go to bat for you because that is not okay with me. This goes over a further explanation of what those classes are, what they entail, and what the limited expectations are. Fair enough?
Sure. Cool.
Okay. Autograph, date there at the bottom. Remember earlier when I said there's redundancy?
Yep.
Welcome to number one.
Let's go.
Possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. Brian, you and I get along great. You're not my only client. This simply states that I have the ability to help other buyers purchase other homes. I have the ability to help other buyers purchase this home. I have the ability to list this home. I have the ability to list a home and then sell it to you. Right? And that's called dual agency. And that's pretty much what this form says.
Cool.
Awesome. Autograph, date there. Now, slow down just a second here, okay? Might seem like a general statutory advisory, but wire fraud is the hottest thing amongst scammers right now. So during the transaction, there will be certain times that you're going to be wiring money into escrow. When those times come, I need you to partner with me to ensure that we are wiring this money into the appropriate person. The last thing I'm going to allow to happen is for you to send your money to some scammer who then gets to go buy their own house with your money.
Has that happened before?
It has. And that's why I said slow down here for a second.
All right.
Because I know I want to get to the end result here for you, but this is important enough for you to slow down on.
Okay.
You with me?
Yep.
Anytime during this transaction you get communication asking you to send or receive money, you come to me first. I will verify that it's all valid. Then we can move forward.
Makes sense.
Awesome. Autograph, date there. Now we get to actually talk about our offer.
Finally.
I know,
Finally.
right?
Jeez.
So top part's pretty simple. It's just going to make sure that the address is correct.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. I want to make sure we're buying the right house. Then this is the brokerage that's representing the seller,
Okay.
AKA the enemy, right? This one here, that's us. All
Okay.
right. We are EXP. We're representing you through this purchase. Then you can see here the purchase price. Does that look correct?
I thought we did $850. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. We changed it. You're right.
Easy fix. 850, boom, right there.
Cool.
We're all good. The next portion here, we're just going to go over how long we're asking for escrow to be,
That's right.
right? How much we're putting down from our earnest money deposit. That's the
Okay.
amount that we're putting into escrow to show we're real human beings and we're putting some skin in the game.
Okay.
Details on the loan that we're using, the percentage down, how much is being financed, the type of loan, FHA, VA, conventional. Down here, you can see the balance of the down payment that's going to be due at the end of escrow when we go to close.
All right.
Any questions on that? Does it all look accurate?
No, yeah, that's all right.
Excellent. Initial there in the corner.
Cool.
You can see
More.
it might seem daunting. Bear with me. This is pretty simple.
Okay.
This portion here goes over our contingencies and the time periods that have to do with those contingencies. Your contingency is your get out of jail free card.
Got it.
Okay. You put that earnest money into escrow. Then we start doing our inspections. We get the loan dialed in. We get the appraisal done. If at any time during these time frames you decide that inspection isn't what you wanted the house to be, we want to pull out, you keep that earnest money. We walk around, go find another house.
Okay.
Okay. So this portion here, you can see it sets it at 17 days for everything. But if you want to adjust any of that, we can set it for different time frames.
Okay.
All right. I don't want to go too far in the weeds, but in general, that's what this is going to go over for you. Down here, it goes into time for possession. So if you want to move in 2 weeks after you close escrow, we put that here. If we're going to move in the day we close escrow, we put that here.
Got it.
All right. Down here, it's going to go over how long the seller has to provide us with their disclosures.
Okay.
There. Okay. Initials there.
It is.
As we walk through the property, we identified the different things in the home that you would like to convey with the purchase.
Yes.
This section here goes over all those items.
Yep.
All right.
And you got the
Got everything checked off that we talked about. Allocation of costs. This is where we say who pays for what when it comes to the escrow itself. Who pays for title, who pays for escrow, who pays for transfer fees, all that. And you can see the seller pays for the lion's share of everything.
All right.
Down here, we identify that they are going to be providing us with that home warranty.
All right.
Just initials there in the corner. Now, everything from this point on is statutory disclosure information.
Oh, fun.
Which means it doesn't have to do with your purchase specifically. It just has to do with buying a house in California.
Got it.
Okay? So this is going to be much more for you to have as a reference. But if, like I said, if you have questions as we go through it, please ask and we'll go deeper.
Got it.
All right? So you can see Section 7 has to do with closing and possession. As we already identified exactly how long the close of escrow is and when you're going to take possession, this just goes into it in more detail. Contingencies and the removal of those contingencies. The biggest thing here is contingencies don't automatically go away. There are some states where after 7 days, your inspection contingency is just gone. That's not the case in California.
Okay.
We will have our contingency until we physically remove it.
Got it.
All right, just initial there in the corner. We aren't going into a condominium or a planned unit development, so this portion is not applicable to us. As you go through here, you can see this specifically has to do with items that are going to be included or excluded from the sale. Items that will be included, it actually itemizes out these will be included unless otherwise specified.
Okay.
Okay, just initials there in the corner. Items that are automatically excluded from the sale unless written. Allocation of costs, we've already gone over exactly who's going to pay for what. Point of sale requirements, again, just really in detail when it comes to allocation of costs.
Okay.
All right. Cancellation rights. As the buyer, you have the ability to cancel within your contingency periods. The seller will have the ability to cancel if you don't perform within your contingency periods.
Got it.
Okay. So just initials there. We just got to be mindful of our timelines. So the seller will have the responsibility of disclosing to us, and there will be California required disclosures. They will provide all that to us. It's not something you're going to have the burden of when it comes to the statutory California disclosures. This just gives you an idea of what those might be.
Okay.
Natural hazard disclosures, things like that. Just initials there in the corner.
Got it. A little over halfway done.
Just
Page
about.
9.
Like, you want to stretch?
All right.
Now imagine if this was really important and I had to go through line item by line item.
If only I were a different personality type.
So, buyer investigations, this is your responsibilities.
Okay.
We'll get a home inspection. We'll get an appraisal done. If you want to get a sewer inspection, a roof inspection, you have the ability to get any of those things done.
Okay.
At your cost. Okay. Title investing. At some point during the escrow period, you're going to connect with escrow and title, and you're going to let them know how you would like to vest the property in your name.
Okay.
All right. Just initial there. It's not something we're going to have to do now. It's just something to plant the seed. You will be doing this later.
All right.
Time period removals, contingency removals, and the rights to cancel. Again, that redundancy we were talking
I
about.
say this is like the third or fourth time we're on this.
Exactly. They just want to make sure you're well aware. You have time periods that you have to act within, and you have contingencies that you have to physically remove.
Okay.
This reiterates the seller's right to cancel. This reiterates the buyer's right to cancel. Just initials there in the corner. If at any point either party is not performing on their duties, we would provide them with a notice to perform. Then we have a demand to close. There are no expectations of repairs. All right, so the seller's not obligated to repair anything. If at any point you feel like there needs to be repairs done, they don't feel like that needs to be done, we can cancel, find another property.
Okay.
All right, so broker and agency disclosure and scope of work. Initials there in the corner.
Sure.
So everything here in section 19 is what escrow is going to use as their joint escrow instructions.
Okay.
So this is very clear instructions on what they get to do.
But I don't have to do anything.
No, we're doing your part right now.
Sweet. Next.
And next. So seller service providers. So the selection of service providers is on the seller to do. They'll pick escrow, they'll pick title. The property was in the MLS. Now it's getting into allocation of attorney fees or costs, if there are ever any. Some states use attorneys to close escrows. California doesn't.
Okay.
So definition and instructions, you can see on this next page, there is an allocation of different terms that are utilized in escrow.
I'm glad they explained what day means.
And it lets you know what day means.
Oh, don't I need to sign that one?
Initial in the corner, yeah.
Sweet. Got it.
So breakdown of different terms that you're going to hear throughout the process. Time is of the essence. We want to make sure that we are on top of our timelines for the 7th time. Initial there in the corner. This has to do with mediation and arbitration and liquidatable damages. Your earnest money deposit gets forfeit to the seller if you do not perform your side of the transaction.
Okay.
Okay. I am here to protect that. That's what our contingencies are for.
Got it.
Okay. But if you remove all your contingencies and then just move to Bangladesh and never communicate with anybody again, that earnest money deposit gets forfeit to the seller as liquidated damages.
Okay.
Okay. Mediation, everything goes to mediation first if there's ever a dispute. If mediation can't get it resolved, then it goes to arbitration. So just initials. This offer expires in 3 days. If you would like to adjust that to be sooner or later, we can do that. But by the terms of the agreement, the seller has 72 hours to respond. But I do want to point out the seller does not have an obligation to respond to this offer. They could just ignore us, right?
Okay.
Like 7th grade dances.
It's happened before.
So we are not purchasing this as an entity. You are purchasing it as Brian Kochi,
Yep.
not like Brian Kochi LLC.
Got it.
So this portion here doesn't have to do with us in particular. Just autograph there, and I'll be able to submit this for us.
Sweet.
This portion here goes over.
I thought we were done.
We are almost done, Brian, I promise. It's incredibly important that you understand the different types of investigations that could happen during an escrow, right? As a buyer, you should know what options you have to perform your inspections above and beyond just a traditional home inspection. This buyer inspection advisory goes over exactly that.
Got it.
Okay. So
Now, are you going to help
there.
me with this if I need it, or?
I have inspectors for anything and everything you'll ever need.
Sweet.
You
Sweet.
just point, I will take care of it.
Got it. Cool.
Fair Appraisal Act. So because you are using a loan, you will be getting an appraisal done. This simply states that that appraiser cannot make any determinations based upon any of those protected classes we were talking about. It has to be about the value of homes in the neighborhood. So autograph there. Brian, good luck. We're good.
Appreciate it, Mike. So before we wrap up here, thank you so much, Mike. That was phenomenal. Some things
That's
that
the fast forward button.
how long does this normally take you to do for a high D personality? It
So
took us about 20 minutes or so for this.
maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Depends on how many questions they have.
Okay. I obviously asked no questions.
So long as the information that I have in there is accurate to what they've already told me they want it to look like, you gain more and more trust every time you get something right.
Makes sense.
Right? So like when we opened and I was like, the purchase price looked correct, and you said no, that would have been rough with a high D.
I know, I
Because
did that, and I was like,
now-
I don't know why I role played that way.
Yeah, well, because now they're going to scrupularize everything that I added to the contract.
True.
Right? So that would have been like a big thorn in my side. And I would have had to do a lot of recovery to prove to them that we're not wrong.
So I mean, I guess this is true for everything. Obviously, triple check your stuff before you're dealing with contracts.
Oh, absolutely.
And I liked how you kind of checked in. And it was very overview. This is what it is. You'll have a copy. You can review it later. But this is all that stuff. I liked it. Great job, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else you want to add before we move on to our next video?
Just in general, I mean, like when you're looking at the different disc profiles, the D and the C are the ones that are the most polarized.
Okay.
The I and the S are significantly more forgiving.
Okay.
So when looking at this as a whole, the D and the C, I would say, are the ones that you would want to spend the most effort and time on, where the high I's and the high S's, you could almost hand them the contract and then bullshit about what's going on over the weekend while they initial and sign it.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so just for perspective. All right, Brian, last page.
Finally.
We made it through.
All right.
All right, see, that's a win, right?
That's a win.
I love it. So this is the California Consumer Privacy Act. Long and short of it, we don't sell your information, but everything that's done in California is public. So when you buy and sell property, everybody and their mother is going to know that you just bought this property. So you'll get stuff in the mail, you'll get advertisements, you'll get people that call you. It's not because we gave your information away. It's just simply because this information is public.
You are so good at this. Obviously, things change. Obviously, things. You are one of, if not the expert on the disc profile here at Whissel Realty Group. If someone wants to get more information, if they want to talk with you, if they have a question, if they want to dive a little deeper, is that something you're willing to do?
Oh, 100%. I love this stuff. It's super fun.
I know you do.
Yeah.
How can they get a hold of you?
So you could hit me up on Instagram at the Mike Proctor. You and I have put some videos together that are on YouTube through the Whissel Way.
Yep.
So I should be fairly easy to get a hold of.
Cool. Very cool. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, brother.
Right on, brother.